Alright, today in this 2002 Ford Ranger, we're going to install Tekonsha Brake Controller part number 90885. And to help install a brake controller, we'll be using part number 18136 from Tow Ready. We'll also be using part number ETBC7. To start off our install, we'll take the 7-pole connector from the ETBC7 kit and its bracket. We'll add it to the Tow Ready bracket. We'll clamp that into place onto the hitch. Then we'll take our 7-pole, add it to the 7-pole bracket, and then wrap some tape around to help protect it. Due to the way the Ford's 4-pole is constructed, we'll whittle down the rubber end of the 4-pole from the 7-pole enough to where we can get it to fit together. Okay, we'll go ahead and add some contact grease, push them together, and then wrap some tape around to help protect it, and then we'll run a zip tie around that to keep everything together. Alright, next we'll take our white wire at the ring terminal and ground it to the frame. Our purple wire can be hooked up to a reverse light lead on the trailer if needed. In this case, it will not be hooked up. Now we'll go underneath the hood and find a location for our circuit breakers. Our 40 amp circuit breaker will be used for a hot lead or constant 12 volt supply to the 7-pole, and our brake controller will use the 20 amp circuit breaker. Now, depending on what type of trailer you're pulling, you may need the 30 amp circuit breaker. We'll mount our circuit breakers up by the battery, a little bit behind the battery on the fender well on the inside. We'll hold in place to see where they go. Then it's a good idea to mark the sheet metal. We'll go ahead and drill for our fasteners first, and then install our circuit breakers. Now we'll go inside the cab and find a place to mount our bracket for our brake controller. Hold it up against the dash and install the sheet metal screws that'll run into the plastic. Now we'll go ahead and start running a wire from our 7-pole up to the front towards the battery. We'll cut our gray cable and attach it to the yellow butt connectors at the end of the 7-pole. We'll match it up blue to white and black to black. And when we run our cable up to the front, we'll make sure we stay away from anything moving like suspension components or anything hot like the exhaust. And we'll take our wire and we'll push it in the direction we want up by the firewall. At the back of the 7-pole, we'll go ahead and add our loom to cover up the wires. Okay, with everything secured underneath the vehicle, we'll back up to the engine compartment and pull a wire up. We'll strip back the gray sheath as far as we can, and we'll separate our black and our white wire. We'll take our black wire and run it through a 40 amp circuit breaker and then out to the positive side of the battery. We'll route our wire to length. We'll cut off our excess and keep it to the side because we'll use that later. We'll make our wires up and put our terminals on. Let's make our connections to the circuit breaker and run our lead out towards the battery but not connect it up. Alright, next we'll go ahead and start running our wires to the inside of the vehicle for the brake controller. Now our groundment is going to be where the clutch cable goes through the firewall. We'll use a knife, we'll cut a slit on the side of it. It may be a good idea to use a screwdriver to help open it up just a little bit more. Alright, we'll run our airline tubing through it. We'll pair that with our excess wire with the gray cable, and then pull our wires back through. With our wire pulled through the firewall, we'll go ahead and cut it to length. We'll make sure we got enough slack in the engine compartment so we can go ahead and secure it as well. So while we're in the cab, let's go ahead and hook up our brake controller wires. Our brake controller comes with a plug that we have to wire up the other ends. We'll start off with the blue wire from the brake controller. We'll connect that up to our single white wire that we pulled through. And then our white and black wires, we'll connect the black and white and the gray cable. Then we'll go ahead and take a red wire and connect that to the cold side of a brake switch, which is located above the brake pedal. We'll find a wire that is only activated when you hit the brake pedal. We'll connect a red wire to that. Alright, with our wires secured, we'll go ahead and install our brake controller. Alright, now let's go back underneath the hood and make our final connections to the battery. We'll take our gray wire from the brake controller, we'll split it in half, and our black wire will go to a 20 amp circuit breaker and to the positive side of the battery. And our white wire will go to the ground side of the battery, or a negative cable. We'll go ahead and check our brake controller. Alright, we have two dots on the bottom. One shows the power is going to the brake controller, and the other one shows there's a boost setting applied. We'll hit the manual override, and you can see that it says NC for no connection. We'll hook up a trailer to it, and then check it again. Then we have a C for connection. We'll hit the manual override one more time. We can see the numbers, so we know we have a good connection. We'll also hit the brake pedal. We should only get a very low output. In this case, a little over 2. That'll finish it for our install for part number 90885, the Prodigy P2 brake controller on our 2002 Ford Ranger.